It is the Matt Mosley Show on the Rogue Media Network. We're so many things. We're like 365 Sports. There's a lot of things that we're involved with, and so people know us as different things. But the sponsors know us as the Mosley Show. So thank you, Central National Bank. Thank you, Ascension. We appreciate you. Love the ads. Love what you guys do. People comment all the time. Central National Bank. And you know what Scotty and I do each day? The gremlins of the world will try to be like, we're going to undermine you today, and your laptop's not going to work. And Scotty and I will literally just go hunt down other laptops and just like tape stuff together and go, we'll live to fight another day. We will show up and we'll do our thing. And Scotty, I even saw him today on Twitter. He said something. I thought, oh goodness, he's not making it easy on me as we get Scotty. I want Scotty credentialed to all Baylor events. I want in all 20, every pass we can get Scotty. That's what I want to do for him. And then occasionally I'll see something on Twitter and I'll be like, okay, that one didn't help. But that's okay, because I want Scotty to be able to speak his mind. Not as much as Cam. Cam spoke his mind too much. I had to send Drake to a minor league baseball thing or whatever that is. I had to send him to Savannah. I sent Cam, I sent him to Boston. I cast him away. Right now, we're going to keep Scotty right here at the mothership, and proud to be with him, and glad to be doing the show. It's with a heavy heart, and I'm gonna address the loss in the Rangers family. Okay, I will address that, but there's something. By the way, Scotty, real quick, if you'll jump on with me, have you noticed? If you noticed recently on Twitter, like for years we were told we saw links, right? We've just been trained to find the link. Okay, here's the story, here's the little Twitter thing, here's the link. I don't know if Twitter's doing this. I'm certainly not capable of doing this. I guess I can accidentally do it by putting a link out there. But have you noticed now when you're looking for the link, it's just like you gotta click on the actual picture. Like the New York Times, like if the Athletic has a story up, there's no little link down there. You've got the, you know what I'm saying? Like this is a relatively new development. Is that a Twitter, like is that an Elon type situation that they think that's easier or it eliminates a step or something? I don't know if I like it yet. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal to me. But do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about. I think it's actually been that way for a minute. I don't mean to challenge you on that, but I think it's been that way for a while.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother me. It's honestly easier to click a big half the post than scroll and find the hyperlink. So.
All right. Well, I'm glad. I the way I'm reporting this is it happened like last night or yesterday. So if you want to say it's been that way for a minute, that's fine. Because in my mind, it's literally a minute. Okay. But before I get to this Rangers situation, I must address this. I'm amazed at some of the questions that were asked in the aftermath of that Packers game here at about 4:15 into the show. We're about 4.5 minutes into the show, Scotty, and just let me say that I don't understand why are people asking Jerry Jones and Micah Parsons can they have a relationship someday? Like, since when did we start caring so much if he plays for the Packers. He plays for the Green Bay Packers. Like, Jerry traded him. Yes, they had a falling out. Yes, it didn't work out. Like, why as writers and broadcasters, why are we suddenly concerned over if these two gentlemen can ever make peace? I'm sitting here the other day with Jerry, And you saw it, Scotty. I winced at that. You showed the video yesterday when Jerry made some weird, Ty is like kissing your sister. It's an old joke, it's an old saying. And Jerry took it to a different level. And I happened to be standing right next to Jerry, and I made some kind of face. And that thing has been passed around so much. But what I don't understand is I like, of all the things we have to cover in sports and worry about, whether Micah and Jerry Jones ever end up being friends or friendly is like such. I mean, like, I cannot tell you how little I care about that. Here's Micah after the game. I didn't even get to talk to my owner, the person that drafted me. I found out through my agent. So to me, that emotional side was pointless, because the same way he called me into his office as a man, he couldn't tell me as a man. So to me, that emotional side was gone. It was more about a respect factor at that point. Jones was asked this morning. I should have sent this to you, Scotty, but I could even maybe do this in Jerry's voice. Jones started out like he was about taking the high road, saying, I really don't respond to that at all. And then came the but. He said, but that phone call thing got stopped when this is Jerry talking about Micah. That phone call thing got stopped when he told me to take his number off my dial. Don't call him anymore. So I quit those calls. Whoa. Man, they watched the Super Bowl together. They used to hang out, and they used to say extremely nice things about each other, and they don't anymore. And I think we ought to honor that, respect it, and move on. And as reporters, like, that's one of the last things we should really be. If you want to talk about, like, well, how'd you think y'all did against Micah? Or what do you think about Micah? But, like, worrying if they could someday be friends, who cares? Like, if you want to worry about, does the fan base not like Micah? Do they love him? What was the reception like? All valid. I just think this thought, but that is funny. The reason I bring it up is because this just happened this morning, that Jerry couldn't leave it alone. And Jerry said that Micah told him to take his phone number out of the. Doesn't that sound like, Scotty? What's that old saying? Keep your, how people, when they're in a fight with somebody, keep my name out of your mouth. Keep my name, or keep my family's name out of your mouth. That's the big saying, right? And that's what Liam Cohen, the coach of the Jags, was telling Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator of the 49ers, the other day. Keep my name out of your mouth. Scotty, have you ever, now you are still early enough in your media career where some tweets can bug you, and I've seen you do it, and you feel the need to respond sometimes and address it, and you'll get to a point where you just ignore almost everything and anything. But you're still at a point in your career that occasionally a tweet or something somebody says. Now, sometimes I know we want to do that because it's kind of fun to interact with people.
Well, and drumming up engagement is good.
But it is. I'm sure engagement's great. But I would say someone that barely has any followers engaging in responding to them, I don't know. But maybe it's fine. We're not going to get into that. But have you ever said to somebody those words, keep my name out of your mouth? Has that ever come out of you? Have you ever had to say to anybody? Even in church life, people can get nasty in the church.
That's worse than Twitter, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever had to say to a parishioner, keep my name out of your mouth?
No.
Never had.
I generally don't have a problem with people using my name or coming after me because I can handle myself. I have a problem if you come after people I really care about or love.
Nice. Yeah.
Way more so. Like, don't come after other people. So I'm usually quicker to be aggressive if someone's going after someone I care about. Then I can usually handle it if they want to come after me. And I do ignore most of the trolls on Twitter. And every now and again, if I play with my food, it's just fun.
If by the way, I in that context, that's an interesting way to use it. But I don't like the basketball context. The play was that you know where that came from? Mark Jones. That I mean, I don't know if he invented saying that, but he brought that to basketball or to a wider audience. I'll say I heard him say it because it's like a guy who's dribbling too much or whatever,
Right.
who's playing with his food. Now, what drives me nuts is that then every play-by-play announcer feels like, oh, okay, now that's fair game. I'm going to get on that. Do you know that of all the play-by-play guys, Pete's one of my favorites, and mostly because he's a good friend. No, I actually think he does a good job. But Mark Jones drives me more nuts than just about any announcer out there. And I'm sure he's a nice guy, and it has nothing to do with that famous thing where he was saying he needed like handlers or whatever, so people wouldn't come up to him and say stuff. It's the fact I don't love when announcers or broadcasters try to go way out of their way and use all these ridiculous vocabulary words that don't really fit anyway, but it's like you're proving something. Just whatever. And now if you use a big word and it's very natural for you, then that's fine. But he has this way of he makes a huge show of trying to use SAT words at all times, and it's grating to my ear. All right, that's just a little aside. Now, Scotty, we've come to the portion of the show where I used to, if Scotty was listening to me with Randy Galloway back in the day, which he probably heard me occasionally, or I brought Tim Calishaw over. Which I don't know if that was a good move because Tim has asthma and breathes real heavy on the air, but remains a good friend. But he's a very heavy breather. I used to write goodbye letters to people, and we would play some. It's like when I showed you something the other day, Scotty. I don't know if I shared that with you or not. Josh, that guy Pate. What's that guy's name? Josh Pate, who does a lot of college football, and he's good. He's entertaining. He does a nice job. But he does that Sarah McLachlan of the week, and they'll play that sad, soulful music. Well, we would do that.
I remember your goodbye letters. I do remember that.
And I would write a 2 or 3 minute. Oh my gosh, you should have seen me. I would leave the studio and I would go pen, and this would be like a 5-page goodbye letter. Sometimes it was the end of a Mavs season, or somebody would get traded, or something would happen, and I would write a goodbye letter. Even when they shut down Texas Stadium, people like that one. I wrote a whole goodbye letter to Texas Stadium, and Galloway loved it and all that kind of stuff. And Scotty, I almost want to write one. I'm not quite ready to do it. It's too soon. The wounds are too fresh. But saying goodbye to Bruce Bochy is tough because, I don't know him like I knew Ron Washington. Like, Ron's fighting something right now, and hopefully he can come back to managing, but he had to take a leave, and I don't know. I don't know what Ron's status is right now. But Ron Washington had become a friend, and he was very funny, and he was very outgoing. I did not ever get to have that relationship because once Bochy came, I wasn't covering the Rangers. I just wasn't out there as much, if any, really. I would go out there as a fan. But I just thought Bochy was unbelievable. I thought it was like having someone from like an old Western. And even watching him walk out there, Baylor used to have a pitching coach that did that, Scotty. His name was Sid Hudson. He worked for Mickey Sullivan, and he was an old major league pitcher. And I think they both went to, they're both deacons over at Columbus Avenue. I don't know if they're deacons, but I'd always see them sitting up there at the front. And it would take Sid about 10 minutes to make a pitching change or go make a mound visit because, of course, Mickey would go out there and make changes. But Sid was the pitching coach. And Sid was already very old by this time, by the mid to late 90s. And it would take him a good long while to get out there. Bochy did that. It took Bochy forever to make a pitching change. But just to listen to him, there are certain managers, and, Jimmy Leland was like this. Earl Weaver used to be like this. I used to be around Johnny Oates a little bit when I was a youngster. But those old managers that have been doing it forever. Torrey was like this. Bochy's 70 years old. And you saw Dusty Baker come back and do some really good things with the Astros. Like, they don't ever forget how to manage. The only thing that some of them might have a hard time embracing is the analytics. And Bochy did a good job of that. Bochy he was not allergic. He knew that to succeed in modern baseball, he at least had to listen and look over and listen to all the analytics people and meet with the GM and let them have their say. But what he did was with a team that we had no clue, even after the season. And at the very end of the 2023 season, people forget this, but the Rangers lost the division to the Astros. They went limping home. It was embarrassing. Alex Bregman was clowning on them. And then they started one of the great postseason runs in Major League Baseball history. And Bochy was there with his guiding hand the whole way in everything he seemed to do, whether it was late in the year. Hey, let's put the kid in here. Let's play Evan Carter. Let's get him out in left field. And that kid started getting on base like crazy. He knew when to play certain players. He knew when to DH guys. He had a great feel. Now, I would say later years, the last 2 years, some of the stuff he did with his relievers and the way he managed them, totally open to criticism. I think he would admit he screwed some things up there. But man, having him, there are just certain people, it's kind of like with Baylor right now. We could think, Scotty, of certain people, whether it be college football, college baseball. There are certain individuals that if you attach them to a program, even like as a consultant or something, it would infuse your program with instant credibility. And the appearance of Bochy was kind of like, oh, wow. Bochy thinks enough of us. It wasn't like we think enough of Bochy. Our reception for him was kind of like, wow, this dude thinks enough of what we're doing to come be a part of this. And that's what it was like. And he was incredible for the Padres, the Giants, and then the Rangers. And so, Scotty, whoever, I think to a certain generation of Rangers fans, and hopefully that's from, 10 years old to much older. Like, this guy instantly became their favorite manager. Now, to some of us who've been pretty close to the organization over the years, we all have our favorites. And I kind of liked, Jeff, what's his name, before Wash. The guy that had come from Bannister, just because I knew him pretty well. But Wash became the guy a lot of us related to and loved. Talking about Ron Washington, because back-to-back World Series, and that was the most success the Rangers had ever had. And that was a huge time. But Bochy knocked down the door and won the World Series. And I just think that there'll be a large segment of the Rangers fandom that I would still say Wash, as far as most beloved, Wash may hold the title. But Scotty, I think, I mean, greatest manager ever, it's got to be Bochy based on what he did before and then what he accomplished. And the credibility and what he brought was just amazing. So, Scotty, I know you'll want to say a word on Boch. I just think it's a tough day. It's a tough day. I understand it because they just didn't get it done these last 2 years. He's getting on up there, and they're probably ready to kind of figure out what direction they want to go moving forward with the payroll and everything. Unfortunately, I think Ray Davis, and of course we used to put Bob Simpson right there with him, but Ray Davis is the principal owner for the Rangers. I think they want to trim, and I just think the days of them swinging big and making huge deals are kind of behind them. And I don't think Boch wants to be part of some kind of rebuild, revamp situation. So this may be best for both parties. But Scotty, I believe that Bochy will go down as one of the great managers in the history of baseball. And I think the Rangers, given their past and given some of their shortcomings, are extremely fortunate to have spent a few years with him.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I appreciate that the Rangers. This doesn't work in every situation. I appreciate they offered him that front office role. I think that says a lot, right? If you're going to move on from somebody in one position, to offer them an opportunity to stay in the building if they want. And that speaks to the respect he's earned. And of course, when you win the only World Series in club history, you've kind of earned an opportunity to stay as long as you'd like, even if the role changes. So, yep, you said it well. Legend forever. And I think you said it well, too, in that Ron Washington will always have a very unique position in my heart. Having grown up in the 90s and aughts, watching so many Rangers teams, I have fond memories of A-Rod and Pudge and Juan Gonzalez and Rafael Palmeiro and winning like 40 games a season because that was it. You could hit a bunch of home runs and never beat anybody. So Washington, what he did in 2010 and 2011 will always stand out in my mind as well as an incredible accomplishment. But for the Rangers to have the worst season ever following a World Series victory last year was tough, and then you didn't significantly improve this year. It is tough. It is tough. And I think hoping the Rangers can hire someone great to become competitive again.
That moment on the way to that first World Series, by the way, you just made me think of it when you mentioned A-Rod, because by the time that moment happened, most Rangers fans hated A-Rod and forgotten that he was a MVP because he had said some stuff on the way out, like something about the kids and all those kids, and even that team, by the way, that he left after that, Teixeira and Blaylock,
fun teams.
Elvis, Lucci joined that team. And there were some fun moments on those teams. But then you get to 2010, and for Feliz to strike out A-Rod to end that series, and Colby went out there and gave him an unbelievable start on that day. And that would have been, we're talking 15 years ago. So that's young. Scotty, my gosh, Scotty, that takes you way back.
High school,
high school days, and I love that I got to experience that one game, as a fan instead of up in the media. And I
Mm.
sat sitting with some buddies behind home plate, and it was that moment. First of all, Kobe Lewis, you talk about gutsy. What a performance. And he would go out there and he never really looked like he had that great of stuff. And he was kind of overweight. And I don't know if they ever had a better competitor. I don't know if they ever had a
Mm.
bigger competitor. But then for Neftali to come in, that was unreal. And it wasn't that long. And subsequently, that's what it's funny to think about, like how great a reliever he was for a fairly short time, right? And then, of course, it's like, oh, he can't do it anymore. You're moving on. And then he bounced around with other teams over the years. Scotty, we will do some Campus Confidential coming up here in a few minutes. And Scotty, we got a lot of stories going on in college, and there's some funny stuff out there. College football, basketball, whatever we want to do on the college end of things, we'll do it. Scotty, there was a funny story in the NFL that I wanted to bring up because, I am sick of the Micah story will continue to be a story. I'm not sick of, like, I'll be interested in watching him this year and seeing how he does and seeing how the Cowboys pass rush does. All of that is interesting to me. It's just this whiny Jerry and Micah and disrespect each other, and that's going to get old, and maybe some of that will dial down. Now, what did make me laugh, and this has happened, Scotty, you'll remember, speaking of your high school days, you might have been in junior high when this was going on. So this is 2008, and there's a certain player for the Philadelphia Eagles named Donovan McNabb. And it was before the fateful trade, Easter trade, that he ends up with the team formerly known as the Redskins. And they're playing an overtime game, and they're late in the overtime period, and something's happening. I don't remember the exact circumstances, but it later becomes clear that Donovan McNabb did not understand the overtime rules and did not know that there could be a tie. And that was a big story. And I'm sure little Scotty was monitoring that even back in 2008. I was monitoring that for ESPN.com and having to write about all that for the blog that nearly killed me, the NFC East blog, where I had to respond to everything. Anything happened with the Giants, Cowboys, the Redskins or the Eagles, I had to be an authority on all of it and respond to it immediately. Well, it's happened again, Scotty. George Pickens, Cowboys wide receiver who had a great game the other day, walks out of the locker room and admits to Jane Slater, the NFL Network, that, yeah, I didn't know. I thought when they kicked that field goal to tie it up at the end of that first overtime that we're going to a second overtime. That's funny. He literally thought, he's on the sideline. He's played all this time. He's had this great game. It's a Sunday night. It's late. It's 10:45. It's 11, whatever it is. And Pickens is ready to go. And he sees everybody going out to shake hands. And he's like, whoa, what's going on? What's the deal? And he did not know that an NFL game could end in a tie. Oh, if they only had shootouts. If this were only the, I can't believe the NHL, by the way, when it gets to the playoffs, they still, you go overtime period after overtime period after overtime. That thing could go as deep into the night as the goalies allow it to happen. That is an amazing thing. It's the right thing. It's the right thing to do. You can't have a shootout in Stanley Cup playoffs. Can't do that. But it's an interesting thing. Scotty, do you like that Pickens, however, he's been in the league, 4 or 5 years? He's a good player. He's a really good player in the league. Had no clue that these were the overtime rules. Scotty, if you had to guess at this given moment, before the other night, how many NFL players shared George Pickens' view, like that they didn't understand the overtime rules?
60%.
Oh, whoa! I think that's high. Really?
Nah. I bet 60% are probably in the same camp. I feel like this happens every time there's a draw in overtime. There's players on both teams that are like, I didn't know that was going to happen. I don't think it's something teams discuss with their personnel in that much detail, because honestly, like it is so rare.
Man, that's a high. Wow, I was thinking maybe 10%. 60% share with George Pickens. I think they usually don't admit it after a game, like Pickens did. McNabb got killed for that. Like Pickens, I think we're just like, whatever, just kind of laughing. Because he was a quarterback in the face of the franchise, McNabb got crushed over that deal. All right, let me lay this out. That was a big story that Art Briles is coming back to town and speaking at this Texas Sports Hall of Fame. Wow, that's a big story. When it broke, and Scotty was sharing that with me, the guy who wrote it for the Trib, and of course now there's already been a story written in the Houston Chronicle. There'll be other stories. I'm surprised ESPN has not done anything on this yet. So Bryce Cherry, who wrote this story, will be on with us at 2:00, and we'll just have a conversation about it. Okay. This is not going to be some huge Mosley's going to get on his show. This will be, though, we need to discuss, because has there been enough time? Are we in 2025 and literally you can bring Art Briles back and be a headliner in town for a big event? I guess that's what they're doing. It surprised me. And maybe it's fine. Maybe there won't be that much blowback, but I kind of think there might. We'll discuss. That's at 2:00. Next, it's Campus Confidential.